Yo, I want to talk about something that my mind has been really fascinated and consumed by in like the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. And it has really impacted my life, impacted the peace that I feel in my life. And if I were to live again in another human body after this life, or even right now, if I were to embody a different body, I would want to see this video. I would want, like, I would feel wrong if I didn't share this because of how true it feels to me and how I feel like if I didn't share this, I'd be holding back something that could generate a lot of peace and help people become more whole. And it's the topic of free will, and it's the topic of my stance right now is I don't see how it's possible that we can have it. But let me just explain kind of what this video is going to be about, like the checkpoints. So at first, I'm going to just explain my intuitive idea of why I believe we don't have free will. I'll define what I mean by free will. I'm not going to get into all of the arguments on free will and against free will and the middle ground, compatibilism. I'm not going to get into those arguments that probably do a lot better job of explaining the theory behind why we don't have free will. I'm just going to explain what came to my mind when I took a little bit of mushrooms and this idea popped into my head, and I just followed that idea to the end, and it made so much sense that there's no, it just doesn't make sense how we could have free will. I'll explain you that idea. I think it's very easy to understand. I'll give you some counter arguments or some counter ideas you could use against that example that I gave. Then I'll also share how I don't think those arguments really hold. And then lastly, I'll explain why I think this is an important topic, why I feel called to share this, and how it's impacted my life. And out of everything I could make a video on or not make a video on, just keep doing my life, why I chose this. And also I'll be addressing some things that a lot of people, myself included, thought when I first had the idea of what if there is no free will, and the kind of despair or the meaninglessness that first comes with that thought. I'll explain how that thought makes sense, but that's just the very surface level once you get there. But there's a whole ocean of peace and of meaningfulness that can be tapped into, I think. So let's start. I was thinking, this was like 2 months ago. For some reason, the saying popped into my head, a common saying that I heard probably 10 years ago, and I intuitively accepted it. And I think most people intuitively accept it. And I believe if you don't accept it, like, I don't see how you can irrationally not accept this saying. And what the saying is, I'm sitting here editing this shit, and I realized I never clearly said the saying. I was just like fucking around in the bushes a lot, and it's not clear what the saying is. What the saying is you would have done the same thing if you were in their shoes. It's a common saying. We've been hearing it a lot, or at least I hear it a lot, and intuitively accept it. If you were in their shoes, you would have done the same thing. Now, I explain it. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to read off the piece of paper when I took that little bit of mushrooms. And I wrote like a crazy person. I wrote all my thoughts down in surprisingly a comprehensible way. And I'm just going to read it off to you, then explain it a bit more. So what I said is, and this is to the point of, that saying that I'm going to explain. Most people understand that you would do or take the exact same action or do the exact same thing as someone else if you were in their shoes. You would have no other choice. If you lived in their exact past experience, identical things happening, same parents, same dysfunctions, same way of coping, everything exactly the same, and you fast forward to the present moment, and they did something like cut you off in traffic, if you were them with the exact same brain chemistry, the exact same thoughts, feelings, outlook on the world, current stresses, current level of hunger, everything exactly the same past, then you would have done the exact same thing. Why? Because he did it as the result of his current brain chemistry, external environment, mood, etc. You would have done it because he did it as a result of all his past experiences, all his current brain chemistry, everything. So of course you would have done the same thing if you had the exact same, if you were him, right? It just intuitively makes sense. And if you were to accept that you would have done the same thing, then you also must accept that you would do the exact same thing he does the moment after he cuts you off, and you would have done the exact same thing he did the moment before he cut you off, because it's all a result of the same thing that allowed you or made you accept the first premise that you would have done the same thing if you were him. If he cut you off, you would do the same thing the moment after and the moment before, because what allowed you to accept that is his brain chemistry. Like, you would have done the same thing because that's just an output to everything that was going on in here. If you were him, you would have done the same thing. I'm probably hammering this a little bit too much. That allowed you to accept the first premise. And if that's the case, then you must also accept that everything he will do in the future And everything he has done in the past, you would have also done. And if that's the case, if there would be no way for you or anyone else to act otherwise, if you were him, then he also doesn't have a choice. Everything he does, from the behavior to the thought, or the thought to the behavior, I guess would make more sense, is a result, or even just the thought itself, is a result of the same thing that made you say, I would have done the same thing he did. It is the result of his brain chemistry in that current moment and external stimuluses and external situations that shape it. He also has no other choice but to act in a way that he did, because it's the result of brain chemistry and past experiences, etc. And if that's the case, then he only ever takes part in the illusion of a false choice. Whatever choice or thought he decides to do is the only ever possible choice he could have made. We have the power to choose. We can stop, we can think, and we can choose. But the decision to stop, the decision to think those thoughts, and the resulting choice is all a product of whatever signals your brain sends you based upon the brain you were born with and everything that has shaped you in the past. That's it. That's what I wrote down. And this feels like a intuitive way to accept there's no free. It's almost like the saying you would have done the same thing is surface level, even though it seems quite deep. But for this sake, let's just say it's surface level, or it's quite deep. Fuck it. But if you were to follow that thought down deeper of like, why would have you done the same thing? And what would that result to? If you just keep asking questions, the end all answer is because they couldn't have done something different. That's why you can accept that intuitive saying. If they could have done something different, then that wouldn't be a saying. It couldn't be a saying. It couldn't be intuitively accepted. We accept that whatever they did was a result of their current brain chemistry and their past experiences and all their inputs that was going on. The output was just a result of everything in the past. I don't see how it would be possible to have a time where you can pause everything that's going on and something can come in and make a free choice. I don't even know what that would look like. But everything is just cause and effect and going forth. An argument that could be made against this that I thought about, and I was thinking about it because I was trying to see, like, it can't be that simple, is like saying, just because that's the only choice that he made, or just because that's the choice that he made, doesn't mean that's the only choice that he could have made. But I kind of just debunked that and saying, well, I didn't debunk it. I said that saying can't hold anymore. So you cannot accept that saying that you would have done the same thing, because that's implying or saying that he had a choice. And if he had a choice in his shoes, then if you were in his shoes, you would have also had a choice, and that might have not been the same choice. So you can't accept that saying, which is just very distressful of saying you can't say I would have done the same thing. But what that's also implying is that you two are fundamentally different. Like, fundamentally at the core, you're different. Because if you're saying you could have made a different choice than he made, then that's saying if you lived the exact same, if you were born in his suit instead of him, and you lived the exact same fucking life up to that point, the exact same everything, then there would be something fundamentally different about you that would allow you to have acted differently. And I think that is just not right. Like, we all come from the same thing. It's not like we all, there's nothing fundamentally different about me and you, about me and anyone else, except I was born in this suit and you were born in that suit. We're the same essence. We're the same essence. And not accepting or saying that you could have made a different choice is saying that you're ultimately fundamentally different. And I think that's scary, and I don't think that's true. And that's really, that's all I can think of how you can combat that argument that I made. But I would be interested. I am very interested in your thoughts, in anyone's thoughts about this. Okay, so free will is, if we were to rewind, or not free will, if we were to rewind time, say 10 years, and click play, free will is saying that things could have played out differently. And my stance is that's fucking impossible. Like, based upon what I just shared and how we're all just a result of our brain chemistry and our past experiences, from the thoughts we're thinking to the thinking of, but what if I choose to raise this hand instead of this hand? Like, every moment is just a result of the past and your current brain chemistry, which is out of your control. If you were to rewind time and click play, I believe we would have the exact same fucking situation we have now. And now, I want to share how this has impacted my life very drastically, I would say. But the way it impacts my life is very unique to me, of course. And it's very unique to me because of the beliefs that I hold, the experiences I've had spiritually with psychedelics, and my own life experience. This kind of understanding hits that or joins those beliefs that I hold. And I want to explain that, but I just want to say I can't explain these beliefs and the backing to them with the logical way I explained the no free will, simply because it's like a lot of these beliefs came from when I was in a psychedelic trip, or I had a spiritual moment. It's like those are incredibly hard to explain. I don't think they need to be explained. I think they're just like something I accept, and I live through that and impact people, not through explaining why I think the way I think about these beliefs that are hard to explain, but rather I believe them, and my essence and my resulting actions and behaviors and thoughts impact people in a way that I believe are positive. So I'm just going to share what they join to and how it's really beneficial to peace and everything. So through psychedelics and through meditation and my experiences, it just makes sense to me that we are more than just our bodies. Like, we are not just this human skin that once the brain dies, that's it. I'm in darkness forever. Or not even darkness, I'm in nothingness, like nothing exists. I believe that there's a part of us that lives on. And that part in me is, there's a part in you. And I'm not going to try to explain this too much because I'll do a terrible fucking job. But like, the inner me understands it more than the logical me can explain it. And the reason why this is so impactful is because if this awareness of Chase was thrown into the body, or the consciousness of Chase was thrown into the body of Chase, and the awareness is just witnessing this fucking play unfold, because no free will, just witnessing the play unfold. If my awareness just got put into the body of Chase, and it's experiencing the life of Chase, when the body dies, the awareness gets put into another body, or another being. And I believe, or another, being, it's the best way to explain it. And I believe that, I believe that we are on this planet. We are living this life. You are watching this. I'm saying this. Doing everything I'm doing. You're doing everything you're doing in order to become whole and one. We're having this human experience to learn the lessons we need to learn from Earth School, from our very unique dysfunctions that we're born into this earth with, are very unique. Like, I mean very unique as we're all fucking different. It's like we're all just like split. Like, we all come from this one source. We're all split like a fucking disco ball light, where each light shines on different parts of the wall. There's no like same light. If it's the same light, then it's the same thing. It's not a different light. Like, we're all spread out. We all come from, like, there's no one person the same person, because we all have a different perspective. Even if I had a fucking twin here connected to my shoulder, we would still be different, because we have slightly different fucking perspectives on things. And in time, that slight different perspective, where I see my phone straight on, and this guy sees it on a slight curve, that would create a different thought. And in time, that would expand and expand. There's no one person the exact same. And because of that, we have very unique lessons to learn, but at the same time, the same core lesson of to join, to become one, to have our dysfunctions that separate us. They don't have to, but they often do. Say, I'm this way, you're this way. The illusion that we're separate from the very unique spot that we start, to find a way to, I keep fucking up a word, to alchemate that into seeing that we're all one, seeing that we're all Yeah, one. And this is, we all have that lesson. We all have unique lessons in this lifetime. And you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Because you couldn't be anywhere else. There's no free will. But your awareness chose this experience. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that actually blew my mind. If I couldn't have lived a different life, because there's no free will, if I'm just a result of past experiences and brain chemistries, then I couldn't have lived a different life, right? That means you couldn't have lived a different life. It means anyone else couldn't have lived a different life. And if I have a very unique lesson to learn from the part that I started, that's different than the person just a fucking hair away from me to the full 360, if that makes sense. It might just make sense to me right now. And if the goal is to become whole, it's not just to become whole from one perspective. It's to become whole from all perspectives. Yeah, this may just make sense to me. But the profound thing is, if that is what this is all about, if that's the purpose of this all, then that means I won't just have to live Chase's life, the suit of Chase. It means I'll have to live this person's life, and 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 all these people's lives. So I can have their unique start, so I can alchemate that dysfunctional beginning that they had into wholeness, into oneness. And if I can't live a different life, I mean, if I couldn't change, if everyone doesn't have free will, then that means I would have to live the exact same life as someone else. Say I was born again as my dad. Let's just say time is an illusion. Let's just accept that. That might be a fucking hard thing for you to accept depending upon your past thoughts. But say I have to live the exact same life as my dad, the exact same life as my mom, the exact same life as my brother, as the random person on the street, as my ex, as a person that I hated, as like everyone, right? As someone who finds it hard to have empathy for other people, this was fucking real to me. If I had to live the exact same life as them, how would Chase me now want to treat them? Would I want to hold a grudge? Would I want to hold anger? Would I want to act in any other way than love, than understanding, than compassion? Because they can't live a different life. They couldn't have done something different because they didn't. It wouldn't make sense for me to act in any other way than compassion and understanding. Not only because I would have to live that life and I wouldn't want to chase me now to have, if I was living their life, I wouldn't want to feel more pain. I wouldn't want to feel more suffering. Not just more suffering, but not needed suffering, even though it's all needed. It just wouldn't make sense to act in any other way but compassion. And it's kind of embarrassing that in order for me to have this thought, I needed to see myself in their shoes. Like, if I would live their life, like, it wasn't enough just to say, okay, there's someone else, I gotta treat them with compassion and understanding. But I actually had to be like, fuck, if I had to live their life, that shit looks tough. I wouldn't want someone to, I would want someone with love to come into my life. I want someone that had good intentions. I'd want someone with understanding and space to come into my life. And I wouldn't want to, if I had to live their life, I wouldn't want to act in any other way than that to them, because I'll have to experience their life at some point. I might as well have a positive impact on their life, or a loving impact on their life. Yeah, it's not only that, but it's also like they didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice. Like they didn't have a choice, but we're also all the same thing. We're all fundamentally the same thing. They were just put into a different suit. I was put into a different suit. You were put into a different suit. We're all put into different suits. There was no fucking choice at some point. We were all just byproducts. Spinoza says that if we were a stone that has been thrown, and the stone was given consciousness, then that stone would believe that it has free will. That stone would believe it's moving by its own free will. And I believe that's the same with us. We're just a stone that's been thrown. And I believe the ego clings and tries to control and tries to say that, yeah, I'm steering this ship. But that's the same thing a stone would feel. And it's very liberating to be in this space, because I'm gonna name drop another philosopher, and I'm gonna butcher his name. It's Kierkegaard. He tells a story of the fig tree, and I believe it's a young boy. The young boy is underneath a fig tree, and he's looking up, and he sees all these ripe figs. Figs are like a fruit, if you're not familiar. I believe they're a fruit, to be honest. I don't know. He sees all these ripe figs. Of course they're a fruit. They're from a tree. He sees all these ripe figs. But not everything that's a fruit comes from a tree. Okay. He sees all these ripe figs, and each fig represents a different life that he can live, a different path that he can take, a different goal that he can have, a different dream, a different path. And he is paralyzed by the decision he has to make. He has to choose one, or he doesn't have to, but he's looking up and he can choose one life path. But because he's presented with, let's just say, let's just say it's a huge fucking tree and it's an infinite amount of choices, he's paralyzed because he doesn't want to make the wrong choice, because choosing excludes. Making a choice excludes other options, and that's with everything in life. He doesn't want to make the wrong choice because he doesn't want to regret. He doesn't want to exclude a possible better life. So he sits there in his paralyzed anxiety until all the figs fall and rot. And he's just sit there, couldn't have chose anything, didn't choose anything, because the anxiety that comes with choice, the anxiety that comes with the what if. But the reason why this no free will thing and everything I've been talking about is very freeing is because you can understand that it's an illusion that there's other figs to pick. It's an illusion that you could have picked a different fig. It's an illusion you could have made a different choice. It's an illusion that you could have said no when you said yes. It's an illusion you could have said yes when you said no. So it eliminates regret, just like that. Maybe even not that simple, but if you think about it long enough and hard enough and deep enough, then it does. But also, the anxiety in the future, or in the present moment, because there is no future, there is no past, but I don't understand that one too much, to be honest. If you're in the present moment, you see all these figs, there's just like quietness, at least for me. There's this quietness of like, whatever I do choose is the only choice I could have made. It's the only choice I could have made. And everything else is just an illusion. It's just like, it's like I see unlimited figs and I have to choose one. Like it's written, I'm going to choose one and it's already chosen. And I think I could have other figs, but I really can't. It's just an illusion that I can. But the thing is, we don't really know which one is ours. But that's where just living intuitively from the heart and just trusting your instincts, trusting your heart, trusting your intuition, and acting from that, I believe is the most peaceful thing you could do. Because you can say, I lived from my heart. I did what I felt was the best. I don't need to deliberate, and if that's the right word, and think and then choose. I can just act, and then knowing that I couldn't have done something different. I'm going to end this with like a perspective you can take is nothing matters. Not like it's meaningless. It's all written anyway. If we're all going to die, we're all going to die. But if that's the case, why am I making this video? Like, if nothing matters, why am I not just in my bed fucking depressed? Why did it empower me? And it's because I see us all working out. In the end, it's all going to work out. I don't see it any other possible way. Even if the world explodes and we all die, it's in the end, it's all going to work out. It's all going to be okay. And I believe I'm just in this state where if it's all going to work out, that's because people help other people become whole. Like Ram Dass says, we're all just walking each other home. And I believe that's why people have a sense of purpose sometimes. At least for me, I'll speak for me. I feel the sense of purpose to make this video because I see it as I couldn't have done something different also, but like it's a part of the process of walking each other home. I believe this leads to more wholeness, more compassion, more love, more peace, less dysfunction. And if I were to live another life, I would want to see this video. That's kind of like a gauge, I guess, that I would use for if this will help someone. But again, I don't know how this is going to impact you. Like, I don't know if this is going to lead you to negativity or positivity. But I believe that if we act, I believe no matter how we act, it's going to be okay, because there's no other way we could have acted, and in the end, it's going to be okay. So it doesn't matter. It's hard to explain. I don't think I need to explain it because it's all going to be fine. But yeah, this has been on my brain. And it's all like unfinished thought. I don't think there is such thing as a finished thought. Maybe I'll get to a spot where I do think there's such thing as a finished spot. But right now, I don't see how it's possible. And I'm, of course, open to other thoughts because I'm not like trademarking this. Yeah, I would want another version of me. If I were to live another life, I'd want that person to see this because this has generated me a lot of peace, and I think will lead breadcrumbs to a more whole, understanding, compassionate, loving life.